Tractate Shabbos 122. We're starting the Mishnah, chapter 16. Kol Kisvei is the name of the chapter. The Mishnah on 121a taught that one may not instruct a non-Jew to perform an act prohibited to a Jew on Shabbos. The following Mishnah discusses whether a Jew may benefit from a melacha already performed by a non-Jew. A Jew can use its light, benefit from its light, also, but if he did it for the Jew, also. It's prohibited. If he filled water,
he drew water
with which to water his own animal. A Jew may water his animal after him. But if he did it for the Jew, then it's prohibited. Also, Nochi Kevesh Leiret, but a Gentile made a gang plank. It's like a ramp to upon which to disembark from a sheep. Yered Achov Israel, a Jew may disembark after him, can go down, get off the ship after the Goyim, also, but if he made it for the Jew, it's prohibited. Also, Nochi Kevesh boy happened with Rabbi Gamliel, and the Nochi made this ramp, Rabbi Gamliel and the elders disembarked on it. Why do we need three illustrations in the Mishnah? If the Mishnah had taught us only neir, only a candle, mishum the neir lechod the neir lemeir, I would have said that a Jew is allowed to benefit from the lamp because a lamp illuminates for one and a lamp illuminates for 100. Since the Gentile lit the lamp for himself, one cannot say that he did anything extra for the Jew. But water is a concern that maybe the Gentile did it for a Jew. He will take more for the account of the Jew. It should be prohibited. So the Mishnah mentioned that it's permitted if he did it for his animal, and he gives you animal as well. Then why do we need the case of the ramp? The Mishnah uses that case as an introduction to inform us of the incident involving Rabbi Gamliel and the elders. If a Gentile gathered grasses for his animal, a Jew may feed his own animal after him. Also, and if he did it specifically for the Jew, it's prohibited. If the Gentile drew water to water his animal, a Jew may water his animal after him. Also, but if a Gentile drew water after a Jew may not use it. Regarding what circumstances are these leniencies stated? When the Gentiles does not know the Jew, only then may a Jew derive benefit from the remaining grasses and water. Also, however, if the Gentile knows the Jew may not benefit from the Gentile's labor. The Gemara says, "Eini is that so?" Ravuna said, "The name of Bichanina Mamidot the Bental Gavasavim B'Shabbos. A person may stand his animal over still attached grasses on the Shabbos. Avalei al Gabi Muktzeh b'Shabbos, but not over Muktzeh grasses on Shabbos. Why? Since the grass or grasses picked by the Gentile was still attached to the ground at the onset of Shabbos, beginning of Shabbos, they remain Muktzeh now. How then can a Jew bring his animal to feed on these grasses? The Gemara says the kohen lo be'apo, the Brisa speaks of where the Jew stands in front of the animal. Ve'az lo hiva ochlo, and the animal goes on its own accord to the grass and eats it. This method is permitted.
A goat is going to eat whatever, you know.
When he doesn't know the Gentile, or the Gentile doesn't know the Jew, but if the Gentile knows him, then it's also. So the Gemara says, but 1 second, Rabban Gamliel Makiro, Rabban Gamliel knew the Goy, or the Goy knew Rabban Gamliel. But the incident of Rabban Gamliel was where the Gentile knew the Jew. Since Rabban Gamliel and the ramp builder, the gangplank builder, had been traveling on the sheep together, how then could Rabban Gamliel and the elders disembark? They get off the sheep, which was built by the Gentile on the Shabbos.
Right.
Rabban Gamliel was not in the Gentile's presence when the ladder made the gangplank. Rabbi Shimon wasn't there when he made this ramp.
Oh, I don't understand.
The Gentile had no intent to benefit Rabban Gamliel.
It's a piece of wood. You get close to the.
No. It seems like it's a gangplank is much more than just a piece of wood. It's a whole ramp with the rails on the side.
I know. I've been on a ship. I did this, but I'm saying that it was already made, and they just put it out when they landed. So
back then, maybe the guy actually built it
on the ship on the way to the port. Okay. All right.
Even if you say that Rabban Gamliel was in the Gentiles' presence when the gangplank was constructed, its use would still be permitted on the grounds that ner le'echad ner le'mea. A lamp illuminates for 1 and a lamp illuminates for 100. Similarly, the same gangplank that serves 1 passenger can serve 100. And so no extra effort was expended by the Gentile on Rabban Gamliel's behalf. Some say that Rabban Gamliel actually said this. Since he was not in front of us when he did it, meaning we were not there when he did it, therefore we're allowed to use it. Tashma ir Shisol v'nochim dorim v'risecho.
You said this already?
Since he made it,
and in fact
expended no extra effort on our behalf, let us disembark on it.
Yeah.
So there's 2 ways of looking at it. Either because we weren't there,
right,
outside of our presence, or he already made it, so let's use it.
Right.
It's like ner le'echad ner le'mea, or a candle we use for 1 or for 100. 100 people can benefit from a candle. Tashma ir shisol v'nochim dorim v'seicho. Live in a city that has Jews and Gentiles dwelling there. And whose public bathhouse operates on the Shabbos. If a majority of the people who uses the bathhouse on Saturday night are Gentiles, the Jew is permitted to bathe in it immediately after the conclusion of Shabbos. I mean, right? At Motzei Shabbos, you're allowed to take a bath,
right,
even though somebody might hit it. Maybe someone boiled the water on Shabbos. But the majority of people are Gentiles. But if most of them are Jews, he has to wait for the period of time that would take for it to heat up. Also, so we see that when the Jews are the majority, they're not allowed to benefit from the heating done on the Shabbos. Also, it says when the bathhouse attendants heat up the water, he does it with the majority in mind. And since the majority of Jews are if the the majority of the population of the town is Jews, then he does in his mindset to.
Right, so he's doing the Machal Shabbos.
Oh yeah. Tashma neradol gum siba lamp lit at well-attended gathering.
Right.
A party involved if a majority of the people there are Gentiles, a Jew is permitted to use its light. In Roy V'Sol, also, if a majority of the people are Jews, one is forbidden to use it. Mechza, also, if the attendants are half Jewish and half Gentile, one is forbidden to use the light. Also, there too, when the light, when they light the lamp, adaita deruba madleke, they light it with the majority in mind. Shmuel Ikla, related instant Shmuel Ikla leveir Ovin Teiron. Shmuel once visited the house of Ovin of Toran. Also, Ahu Nochi Adek Shrogo, a certain Gentile came and lit a lamp. Adrinu Shmuel Ape. Shmuel turned his face away so as not to benefit from the light. However, once he saw that the Gentile who lit the lamp brought a document and was reading it, Omar Shmuel said to himself, Adaito the nafshu da'adlik. He lit with himself in mind. Adrino iu le'ape gabe shogo. Thereupon Shmuel turned his face back toward the lamp. Adon aloch kol kisvei, we shall return to you kol kisvei. Starting chapter 17, with this chapter we'll discuss the laws of muktzeh. Previously, it was in chapter 3 that it was discussed. We have categories: klisha melachta le'eter, utensil primarily used for permissible things like a knife, right? Shabbos, knife. Klisha melachta le'isur, and utensil primarily like camera that is something that's forbidden on Shabbos. Tzerich gufoi, for the sake of its own use, to use the utensil for some task that is permissible on the Shabbos. Tzerich mekoimoi, for the sake of its place, to make the place occupied by the utensil available for some other use. Mechamo l'tzeil, from the sun to the shade, to prevent the utensil from being damaged. These issues will be clarified in the course of this chapter 17. Kol ha'kelim, the Mishnah begins with a rule concerning the muktzah status of utensils that have doors. For example, movable cabinets. Kol ha'kelim nitolim b'Shabbos. All utensils may be taken on the Shabbos with dalusoisei animoim, and their doors with them. They have a door. The door is taken af b'shen ispalku, even though they were detached. The door were detached from the cabinets, from the closet. The whole utensil may be moved. They're not like the house doors, which if attached or if detached may not be moved. Since the house doors are not prepared for the Shabbos use. A person may take a hammer of a tzeba, he goes in to crack upon open nuts with it, hatchet to cut a cake of pressed figs with it, a saw to slice cheese with it, a shovel to scoop up dried figs from the bottom of a barrel with it, a winnowing shovel or pitchfork to put food on it for a child, a spindle or weaver's reed to spear fruit with it, machat shel yad lidl with sakois, a hand needle to remove a splinter with it, v'shel sakoim v'tar with sadeles, or a sack maker's needle to open a door with it. As the Mishnah's opening statement, all utensils may be taken, and their doors may also be taken, even though they were detached on the Shabbos. And this means that certainly if they were detached on a weekday, they may be taken. But on the contrary, it would seem more logical. B'Shabbos, if they were detached on the Shabbos, muchon mal gabe avien, they were prepared for use together with the main parts of the utensils. They should certainly remain non-muktzah when they become detached. B'chol, but if they were detached on a weekday, ein muchon mal gabe avien, they were not prepared for use together with the main parts of the utensils. It is more novel to say that they are nevertheless non-muktzah.
So if the doors came off the hinges?
If it's house doors, they are muktzah. If it's that's what the Mishnah said. If they're not muktzah.
On the cabinet?
They are called muchonin. They are called prepared. So once you take them off, once they're removed, once they are detached,
then they're muktzah.
It's not considered a utensil.
Okay.
And therefore inherently muktzah. All the utensils may be taken on the Shabbos and the doors with them. And even though they were detached on a weekday, they may be taken on the Shabbos. Having discussed the muktzah status of detachable utensils, utensil doors, the Gemara returns to the discussion of whether such doors may be detached and reattached on the Shabbos without violating any melachah. See, we're not talking about a door of a house yet. The door of a carriage, of a trunk, or of a closet, it may be removed from its socket, but not reinserted on the Shabbos. And the door of a chicken coop may be neither removed nor reinserted. It is understandable that the Tana rules that the door of a chicken coop may be neither removed or reinserted. Since the chicken coops are detached to the ground, we apply them the rule that yesh binyan bekarka yesh stira bekarka. The prohibition against building applies to item attached to the ground, and the prohibition against demolition applies to items attached to the ground. Concerning the door of a carriage, it's not attached to the ground, of a trunk or of a closet, which are not attached to the ground but are utensils. My kasova. What does the Tana? Kasova yesh binyan bechelim, yesh tira bechelim. If he holds that prohibition against building applies to utensils, demolishing also applies to utensils, right? Ve'i ain't still bechelim, and if the prohibition against demolishing does not apply to utensils, and binyan bechelim, the prohibition against building also should not apply to utensils. How can he rule that removing the doors from the socket is permitted, but reinserting them is prohibited? Actually, the Tana holds that the prohibition against building does apply to utensils, and the prohibition against demolishing also applies to utensils. And he means to say that if the doors were removed from the socket, they may not be reinserted. He does not permit removing them. Abaye's explanation is rejected. There are two rebuttals to this matter. Chada de Neutlin Ketoni. Firstly, the white estate may be removed. Not if they were removed. And furthermore, if the first clause does not mean that the doors may be removed, what is the meaning of the following clause which states, but may not be reinserted? The Tana holds that the prohibition against building does not apply to utensils, and the prohibition against demolishing also does not apply to utensils. But the prohibition reinserting doors in their sockets on the Shabbos on account of a decree that was enacted out of concern that perhaps one will wedge them in. I guess we'll put them in tightly.
Yeah.
Wedge them in.
I thought about the chicken coop. That you could just lean the door next to the opening, and for Shabbos, if you just lean it like
No,
this.
we're talking about reinserting it into the
I
sockets.
No, I understand that's a muktzah. I'm just saying, so you lean it and not put it on. That way it's.
The question if the door itself is considered muktzah.
Then you can't move it like a loose button or something.
So Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Kun Shel Goizin, Fazar Say Goizin. The Mishnah means when we take a hammer that had been designated for cracking open nuts to crack open nuts with it. So you have a hammer designated to cracking nuts.
Okay.
Then you're allowed to. But a blacksmith, a hammer may not be taken to crack open nuts.
Okay.
Kasova, Dovosh Melachta Isu, Afilu Tzur Gufa Asu. Rabbi Yehuda holds that something that is ordinarily used for work that is forbidden on the Shabbos, like the blacksmith hammer, may not be taken even for the sake of its use in permissible capacity.
Wow. So if you're using it for doorstop, it's no good either.
Yeah. Amar le Rabbi Ela Me'ato, but according to this, Sefer the Kesoni, the latter clause of the Mishnah, which says Ve'esarachas ve'esamalge is los over cotton. Winnowing shovel or a pitchfork to put food on it for a child. Does anyone designates a winnowing shovel or pitchfork designated for the purpose of feeding a child? That's usually for feeding animals and doing commercial work.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Rabbah therefore advances his own interpretation. The Mishnah means that one may take a blacksmith hammer to crack open nuts with it. Kasova, why? Because he holds something that is ordinarily used primarily for work that is forbidden on the Shabbos. Letzer gufa may be taken for the sake of its use in a permissible capacity. We'll continue this discussion tomorrow. Good morning to everyone.